The sky above Lasara 9 was a molten swirl of violet and orange, a constant storm of charged particles that crackled faintly through the thin atmosphere. Humans had colonized dozens of star systems by now, but Lasara 9 remained a mystery, its surface dotted with jagged crystal spires and rivers that shimmered like liquid mercury. Most expeditions kept their distance, wary of the planet's shifting gravity pockets and its dominant species, the krill, tall, multi-limbed beings whose language was a mix of clicks and resonant hums. Kai Mercer adjusted the straps of his exosuit, feeling the tension in his shoulders even through the soft padding. He had come alone, a scout on a routine mapping mission, though he knew that routine rarely meant safe in human exploration logs. The landscape stretched endlessly around him, glimmering obsidian plains broken by pools of phosphorescent blue. The air smelled faintly of ozone, with a metallic tang that made his mouth dry. He knelt beside a small outcropping of rocks, carefully assembling a small plastic toy robot, something he had packed from Earth. It was ridiculous, sentimental, and hopelessly fragile against the wild storms of Lasara 9. Yet the toy felt important. Somehow, he thought, it might matter. A sudden rustle in the crystalline brush made him freeze. From the shimmer, a small figure emerged. No taller than Kai's knee, it had translucent skin that reflected the violet sky, and 4 spindly arms ending in delicate clawed fingers. Its eyes, huge, multifaceted, and glinting with curiosity, locked on the toy in Kai's hands. "Hello?" Kai said cautiously, holding the robot out. The alien tilted its head, a curious harmonic whistle vibrating through the air. Tentatively, it reached for the toy. The moment felt suspended, the tension between species palpable, until the small alien grasped the robot and squeaked in a sound that Kai instinctively understood as delight. The relief was instant and sharp, but the tranquility shattered. A deep, echoing roar rolled across the plains, vibrating through Kai's chest. In the distance, shadows moved, hundreds of them, towering krill warriors converging toward his position. They moved in disciplined ranks, weapons that hummed with lethal energy slung across their torsos. Kai's mind raced. This was a planet whose very natives were rumored to strike first and ask questions never. Yet the small alien child, innocent, trusting, stood between him and what could be an army. The logic of survival clashed with the instinct to protect. "Stay behind me," whispered Kai to the alien, who didn't move, clutching the robot tightly. Its harmonic hums grew anxious, echoing off the spires around them. The ground beneath him trembled as the first krill scouts approached, their multi-jointed limbs clicking against the crystalline terrain. Their eyes, honeycombed and unblinking, fixed on Kai and the alien together. Kai swallowed hard, activating the comm array in his suit. "Control, this is Mercer. We have a contact situation. Request immediate extraction." Static replied. Lasara 9's storms and magnetic fluctuations often rendered communications unreliable. No answer. The alien child clung to the toy robot like a talisman, looking up at Kai with unspoken hope. In that instant, he realized why he had come here, why he had insisted on bringing a fragment of home into the alien world. It wasn't about mapping coordinates or claiming territory. It was about connection, something even a warlike civilization might recognize if given the chance. And yet, Kai knew he had precious minutes before the krill warriors closed in. He adjusted his stance, readying his weapon. He was human, alone, fragile, yet stubbornly unbroken, and he would not let this child fall. From the shadows, a hum built into a roar, the first wave of krill warriors appearing on the horizon. The sky seemed to split with their approach, the violet storms flashing in sync with their movement. Kai gritted his teeth. "All right, little one, let's see if humans can still surprise the galaxy." And then the first of the warriors stepped into the crystal glow, its eyes fixed on him, calculating, unyielding.
Kai's pulse hammered in his ears as the Krill warriors advanced, each step a metallic percussion against the crystalline plains. The small alien child stayed close, its translucent form almost glowing against the violet storm. It clutched the toy robot like a shield, its harmonic whines rising in pitch with each approaching Krill. The leader emerged from the front of the formation, taller than the others, its segmented limbs rippling with muscle, its multifaceted eyes focused on Kai, assessing, calculating, almost questioning. Kai raised his hands, weapon lowered slightly. He had read enough first contact protocols to know that aggression would trigger the warrior's instinctual response, a full-scale attack. "You don't understand," he said aloud, more to himself than the alien. "I mean no harm." The Krill emitted a low, resonant tone, vibrating through the air. It was incomprehensible to human ears, yet somehow Kai felt its rhythm as a form of communication. He remembered the child's earlier clicks and hums, the way it responded to simple gestures. He extended his hand slowly, palm open, then pointed toward the toy robot. The child's eyes widened. It raised the robot slightly, offering it forward. The leader paused, the other warriors halting mid-step, as if frozen by some invisible command. Kai felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps they could understand the gesture of peace, the offering of a gift. A tense minute passed. The wind howled over the plains, carrying sparks from the electric storms overhead. Then, to Kai's astonishment, the leader reached down with a clawed hand, gently taking the toy. Its multifaceted eyes seemed to study it. Then it turned to the child and produced a series of low, resonant hums. The child tilted its head and chirped in response, a sound almost like laughter. Kai exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. But the reprieve was fleeting. The leader suddenly raised a limb, signaling the warriors behind it. They didn't attack, but they didn't retreat either. Instead, a ripple of disciplined movement spread across their ranks. Kai frowned. "What now?" he muttered. The leader stepped closer, the toy still in its grasp. Then, unexpectedly, it extended another arm, not toward Kai, but toward the alien, grasping the alien's wrist. The child squealed, the harmonic tones shifting in pitch, yet it didn't struggle. The Krill leader then emitted a new series of clicks and hums, this time faster, almost frantic. Kai's stomach sank. He realized that the child was not just a curious local, it was part of a society structured around obedience, hierarchy, and perhaps ritual. The offering of the toy had triggered something, an alert, a summons, maybe even a warning. From the distance, Kai heard the faintest hum, growing in intensity, like the vibration of 1,000 resonant drums. More shapes emerged over the horizon, smaller, faster Krill scouts moving in tight formations. Their approach suggested they were responding to a call, a signal Kai had unknowingly set in motion. "Looks like we're about to be guests," he muttered under his breath, reaching for his comm. Nothing. The storms were still blocking all transmission. Human command would not know his status for hours, maybe days. Kai glanced down at the child. It seemed calm now, its grip tight on the toy, its multifaceted eyes reflecting the crystal plains. Somehow, despite the tension, he trusted him. The realization struck Kai sharply. This was no simple exploration mission. He had stumbled into the very fabric of an alien society, and the rules were nothing he had ever trained for. The leader finally released the child, letting it scuttle forward a few steps, then turned toward Kai fully, the toy still in its hand. A low hum rolled from its throat, vibrating through the ground. Kai's instincts screamed. This was either a test or a declaration. Either way, retreating would be dangerous. "I don't know what you want from me, but I'm not leaving the kid." The leader paused, and for a moment Kai thought the situation might diffuse. Then, from the distant horizon, a deep, resonant chorus arose, the unmistakable sound of hundreds of warriors responding to the summons. They moved as one, their limbs a blur, their eyes glowing with purpose. Kai's heart sank. He hadn't just made contact, he had inadvertently called in reinforcements, and whatever this ritual was, he had no idea if it meant war or something worse. The ground vibrated beneath him as the first waves of krill warriors crested the crystalline spires. Kai crouched, weapon ready, the small alien child at his side.
Kai's pulse hammered in his ears as the krill warriors advanced, each step a metallic percussion against the crystalline plains. The small alien child stayed close, its translucent form almost glowing against the violet storm. It clutched the toy robot like a shield, its harmonic whines rising in pitch with each approaching krill. The leader emerged from the front of the formation, taller than the others, its segmented limbs rippling with muscle. Its multifaceted eyes focused on Kai, assessing, calculating, almost questioning. Kai raised his hands, weapon lowered slightly. He had read enough first contact protocols to know that aggression would trigger the warrior's instinctual response, a full-scale attack. "You don't understand," he said aloud, more to himself than the alien. "I mean no harm." The krill emitted a low, resonant tone, vibrating through the air. It was incomprehensible to human ears, yet somehow Kai felt its rhythm as a form of communication. He remembered the child's earlier clicks and hums, the way it responded to simple gestures. He extended his hand slowly, palm open, then pointed toward the toy robot. The child's eyes widened. It raised the robot slightly, offering it forward. The leader paused, the other warriors halting mid-step as if frozen by some invisible command. Kai felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps they could understand the gesture of peace, the offering of a gift. A tense minute passed. The wind howled over the plains, carrying sparks from the electric storms overhead. Then, to Kai's astonishment, the leader reached down with a clawed hand, gently taking the toy. Its multifaceted eyes seemed to study it. Then it turned to the child and produced a series of low, resonant hums. The child tilted its head and chirped in response, a sound almost like laughter. Kai exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. But the reprieve was fleeting. The leader suddenly raised a limb, signaling the warriors behind it. They didn't attack, but they didn't retreat either. Instead, a ripple of disciplined movement spread across their ranks. Kai frowned. "What now?" he muttered. The leader stepped closer, the toy still in its grasp. Then, unexpectedly, it extended another arm, not toward Kai, but toward the child, grasping the alien's wrist. The child squealed, the harmonic tones shifting in pitch, yet it didn't struggle. The krill leader then emitted a new series of clicks and hums, faster this time, almost frantic. Kai's stomach sank. He realized that the child was not just a curious local. It was part of a society structured around obedience, hierarchy, and perhaps ritual. The offering of the toy had triggered something, an alert, a summons, maybe even a warning. From the distance, Kai heard a faintest hum, growing in intensity, like the vibration of 1,000 resonant drums. More shapes emerged over the horizon, smaller, faster krill scouts moving in tight formations. Their approach suggested they were responding to a call, a signal Kai had unknowingly set in motion. "Looks like we're about to be guests," he muttered under his breath, reaching for his comm. Nothing. The storms were still blocking all transmission. Human command would not know his status for hours, maybe days. Kai glanced down at the child. It seemed calm now, its grip tight on the toy, its multifaceted eyes reflecting the crystalline plains. Somehow, despite the tension, it trusted him. The realization struck Kai sharply. This was no simple exploration mission. He had stumbled into the very fabric of an alien society, and the rules were nothing he had ever trained for. The krill leader finally released the child, letting it scuttle forward a few steps, then turned toward Kai fully, the toy still in his hand. A low hum rolled from its throat, vibrating through the ground. Kai's instinct screamed. This was either a test or a declaration. Either way, retreating would be dangerous. "I don't know what you want from me," he said aloud, though he knew the alien couldn't understand his words. "But I'm not leaving the kid." The leader paused, and for a moment, Kai thought the situation might diffuse. Then, from the distant horizon, a deep, resonant chorus rose, the unmistakable sound of hundreds of warriors responding to the summons. They moved as one, their limbs a blur, their eyes glowing with purpose. Kai's heart sank. He hadn't just made contact, he had inadvertently called in reinforcements. And whatever this ritual was, he had no idea if it meant war or something worse. The ground vibrated beneath him as the first waves of krill warriors crested the crystalline spires. Kai crouched, weapon ready, the small alien child at his side.
Kai's heart pounded in his chest as the massive shadow surged again, its jagged limbs smashing through crystalline pillars. Sparks and shards rained down around him, cutting the air with a high-pitched shriek. The child clung to his arm, humming a sharp, anxious note that resonated through the chamber like a warning. The krill warriors moved with terrifying precision, forming a living wall between him and the creature. Kai marveled at their coordination. Each movement was deliberate, synchronized, a language in itself. Despite the chaos, there was order, a brutal, unwavering order. Kai fired his weapon, energy bolts streaking across the chamber. The shadow flinched but pressed forward, undeterred. He realized the human firepower alone wouldn't stop it. He had to act differently, think differently. "All right, little one," he muttered, trying to calm both himself and the alien child. "Let's show them what humans can do." The child's harmonic tones shifted, almost imperceptibly, a subtle rhythm that Kai instinctively understood. He followed the pattern, weaving through the pillars, moving in sync with the creature's blind spots. The warriors adjusted their positions around him, almost guiding him without touch. Kai reached the pedestal where the toy robot had been placed. The child's tiny hands lifted it, and instinctively Kai realized the robot wasn't just a gift. Its simple mechanical design mirrored something in the hive's sensory network. A pattern recognition? A signal? Whatever it was, the creature hesitated, its red eyes flickering. For a moment, hope flared. Humanity's ingenuity, a simple Earth toy might actually tip the scales. Then from the shadows of the chamber, another figure stepped forward. Another human. Lieutenant Mara Voss, sent with the second wave of reinforcements, or so Kai had thought. Her face was grim, but there was a cold edge in her eyes. "Kai, step aside," she ordered sharply. "We don't have time for heroics." "I don't step aside when a child's life is at stake. Do you even see what's happening?" Mara hesitated, then produced a small device, emitting a pulse that interfered with the krill hive signals. The warriors wavered. The shadow lunged again, but this time the child screamed in panic. Kai realized, horrified, that the device wasn't helping. They were disrupting the very thing keeping him alive. "You can't trust her!" The child's harmonic tones cried in a pitch that Kai felt rather than heard. Mara's voice hardened. "This is bigger than you, Mercer. Stand down." Kai's stomach twisted. Betrayal. Not from the aliens, not from the child, but from one of his own. She had brought human technology to impose control, blind to the subtle intelligence and coordination that had saved him so far. "No!" he roared, charging towards her, the child clinging to his chest. "If you interfere, they'll die. Do you understand?" Mara activated the device fully. The krill warriors hesitated, their synchronization fracturing. The shadow screeched, thrashing wildly, sensing a disruption in the hive. Pillars cracked, fragments flying. Kai barely dodged, shielding the child.
A shard cut his arm. Pain shot through him, but he gritted his teeth. Humanity's strength wasn't just technology, it was adaptability, intuition, and courage. He grabbed the child, sprinted towards the collapsing edge of the chamber, and shoved them both behind a massive crystal column. Mara's device hummed louder. Kai knew he couldn't overpower it, not physically, but he had an idea, a desperate gamble. He set the toy robot on a pedestal near the shadow, activating its simple mechanical movements. The child's harmonic tones synced with it, creating a resonance that cut through Mara's interference. The shadow hesitated. The warriors regained some of their coordination. Kai glanced at Mara, her eyes narrowed in frustration, but she could not anticipate the human-alien bond. The room trembled violently, crystal walls cracked, shards raining down. The elder emitted a deep, warning hum, and Kai realized the hive itself was on the verge of collapse. He had only moments to act, or everything would be lost. And then the shadow lunged straight for him. Kai tightened his grip on the child. The toy whirred. A pulse of energy and sound surged outward, and the massive creature froze mid-strike, eyes wide with confusion and awe. For the first time, Kai glimpsed the fragile, improbable truth. Humans, small and outnumbered, could bend even a warlike alien society through courage, creativity, and compassion. But Mara wasn't done, and the next move she made could destroy everything.
Kai's chest heaved as the massive shadow froze mid-lunge, its jagged limbs quivering in the pulse of the toy robot and the child's harmonics. The Krill warriors, scattered by Mara's interference, were slowly reassembling. For a heartbeat, it seemed like victory might be within reach. Then came the roar. Not the shadows, not the hives, but something far more terrifying. From the upper spires of the crystalline chamber, Mara's reinforcements arrived. Not Krill, but humans. Dozens of armored soldiers poured into the hive, weapons blazing. Energy pulses lanced through the walls, smashing pillars and sending shards flying like deadly rain. "Kai, step back! This is a containment operation." Mara's voice echoed over the chaos, cold and unwavering. Kai gritted his teeth. "Containment? You're destroying them!" The elder shrieked in harmonic resonance, a sound that pierced Kai's bones, signaling panic and alarm. The Krill warriors faltered, confused, and the shadow, its massive frame trembling, slammed its claws against the floor. The chamber shuddered violently. Kai grabbed the child, darting behind a fractured pillar. Sparks and debris rained around them. The toy robot still hummed, but it was barely audible against the cacophony of energy blasts, alien shrieks, and Mara's shouted commands. The child's harmonic cries rose into a desperate pitch, echoing off the crystalline walls. Kai realized with dawning horror, they were not just fighting warriors. They were collapsing the hive itself. If the hive fell, hundreds, maybe thousands of Krill lives, including the child's, would be destroyed. Kai's mind raced. Retreat was impossible. He was trapped in the central chamber. Fight was impossible. Even with human weapons, they were outnumbered by both Mara's soldiers and the alien warriors defending their home. Survival alone would be a miracle. "Move!" a warrior shouted, its clicks and hums now more intelligible through Kai's tuned implants. They had been trying to reach him, trying to coordinate despite the chaos. But the soldiers advanced too fast, firing indiscriminately. The warriors fell, one after another. Kai's grip on the child tightened. He had underestimated Mara's ruthlessness, her willingness to sacrifice everything for protocol. And now the child, the symbol of hope, the fragile bond that had turned a simple toy into a potential bridge between species, was at risk. The shadow, sensing the hive's collapse, let out a bone-rattling screech and surged forward. Kai barely dodged, the ground cracking under the strike. The child's tiny arms wrapped around his neck, harmonic tones piercing the chaos, guiding him. Somehow,
Instinct and courage intertwined, he sprinted toward the nearest exit, a narrow corridor leading deeper into the hive. But Mara was already there, blocking their path, the device in her hand crackling with lethal energy. "Kai, stop! You don't understand what you're interfering with," she shouted. "I understand perfectly," he snapped, swinging the child behind him. "This isn't containment, it's genocide." Mara's hand hovered over the trigger. For a second, Kai saw hesitation in her eyes, but it vanished as she pressed down. Energy arcs surged towards them. Kai dove, the child screaming, and they tumbled into a side chamber, glassy spires splintering around them. They landed in a chamber flooded with bioluminescent pools. The water glowed softly, reflecting the jagged walls. Kai clutched the child, drenched and shaking. Behind him, he could hear the chaos, Mara's soldiers firing, Krill warriors dying, the shadow thrashing. For the first time, Kai felt despair clawing at him. They had failed. The delicate bond, the fragile connection he had fought for, seemed on the brink of annihilation. And then he noticed it. The child's eyes, wide and glimmering, staring at the water. Its harmonic tones had shifted, soft, almost commanding. The pools began to shimmer more intensely, ripples forming patterns. Kai felt a strange warmth spread through him, a pulse that seemed alive. The child hummed again, louder, stronger. Kai realized the hive itself was responding. Even as Mara's forces wreaked destruction, the child's harmonic resonance was reaching deeper, awakening a power in the alien society that he had only glimpsed before. But could it be enough? Could the combined will of one human, one alien child, and the hive itself turn the tide against Mara's overwhelming assault? The answer was uncertain, and the next moment could mean either salvation or total annihilation.
Kai pressed the alien child close, their bodies soaked and trembling from the shattered bioluminescent pools. Around them, the hive groaned and trembled, shards of crystal falling like rain. But in the eerie glow of the pools, Kai felt a strange calm, an almost imperceptible pulse in the air, vibrating in time with the child's harmonic hums. The child lifted its small translucent arms, and the pools shimmered violently, sending radiant waves through the crystal walls. Kai felt the vibrations in his chest, each beat resonating with the child's determination. Somehow they were communicating, not with words, but with raw, emotional energy. Kai's eyes scanned the side chamber. The Krill warriors were regrouping, wounded but still standing. The massive shadow, once the apex threat of the hive, paused, its red eyes flicking toward the pools. Kai realized something staggering. The child's resonance was affecting the hive's creatures, calming them, guiding them, even empowering them. Okay, if we're going to survive this, we do it together. You and me, kid. The child responded with a high-pitched trill, almost playful, and Kai couldn't help but smile despite the chaos. They had no weapons, barely any backup, and yet here they were, alive and unbroken. From the shadows, a warrior stepped forward, clicking in cautious greeting. Its segmented limbs flexed, and it extended one clawed hand toward Kai, then to the child. The elder's hums followed, weaving into the pool's pulse. Kai understood. The hive was offering allegiance, not just survival. All right, let's show them what humans can really do. He sprinted back into the main chamber, the child cradled in his arms. The Krill warriors, rallied by the pools and the child's harmonics, surged around him. The shadow followed, but its aggression seemed dampened, hesitant. It was as if the hive itself recognized Kai and the child as protectors, not intruders. Mara's soldiers turned toward him, firing indiscriminately. Kai dodged blasts, weaving through the chaos. You want this done fast? Try surviving a human-alien alliance. He hurled a small shard of crystal from the floor at a power conduit. Sparks arced, lighting up the chamber.
The child's harmonic trills amplified with the pulse of the pools, sending a reverberation that disrupted Mara's devices. The soldiers faltered, their synchronized assault breaking down. Kai grabbed one of the nearest Krill warriors, signaling it forward. They moved in tandem, shielded by the child's resonance. Each human energy bolt, each alien strike, flowed with coordination, born not of orders, but of trust and intuition. The massive shadow lunged, but the child's harmonics surged again, a force Kai could feel in his chest. The creature froze midair, then retreated slightly. The Krill warriors pressed, driving it back, their clicks and hums merging with the pool's energy. Kai shouted, adrenaline sharpening his focus. "We're not just survivors, we're fighters, and we're not alone." The child's harmonic crescendo filled the chamber, and Kai realized it had synchronized with the hive itself. The walls pulsed, the floor thrummed, and even the shadows seemed tethered, constrained by the collective will of the hive and one human's courage. Mara's voice rang out, sharp and incredulous. "Kai, you can't control them! Step down!" But it was too late. Humanity's ingenuity, instinct, and courage, combined with the child's unique resonance, had turned the tide. The soldiers hesitated, their devices failing, disoriented by the hive's unified response. Kai surged forward, weapon raised, the child perched firmly in his arms. The shadow recoiled, the Krill warriors advancing in perfect unison. Kai's pulse matched the hum of the child and the hive, a rhythm of defiance and survival. For the first time he felt the impossible, a chance to win. Not just for himself, not just for the child, but for humanity and the fragile bonds they had formed across worlds. And somewhere deep within the hive, the elders' hums shifted from warning to approval. Kai understood then that victory was no longer a question of firepower. It was a testament to courage, compassion, and the spark of humanity that refused to yield. But the final confrontation, the ultimate test, still loomed ahead. Mara would not relent, and the massive shadow still threatened the fragile order of the hive. Kai's boots slammed against the crystalline floor as he surged into the center of the hive's main chamber. The pools glowed brighter than ever, casting fractured rainbows across jagged walls, while the child's harmonic resonance pulsed like a living heartbeat. The Krill warriors, fully rallied, moved with lethal grace around him, their clicks and hums blending into a single, terrifying rhythm. Mara's forces had regrouped at the far end, firing indiscriminately. Energy beams sliced through shards of crystal, sending splintered fragments scattering like glittering daggers. But each time a soldier raised their weapon, the pool's residents sent a shudder through their ranks, disrupting aim, shaking them off balance. The child's harmonics were no longer just communication, they were power, focus, and defense. Kai glanced down at the small alien perched on his arm. Its multifaceted eyes were wide, almost glowing, reflecting the pulsing light. "This is it," he whispered. "Time to show them what humanity can do, with friends." The massive shadow stirred at the center of the chamber, looming over both sides like a living monolith. Its red eyes burned with instinctive fury, but it hesitated, caught in the pull of the child's harmonic control. Kai realized, with a thrill of understanding, this creature wasn't merely a threat, it was the hive's guardian, and now it could choose to fight for him. He sprinted forward, weapon raised, flanking the shadow while the Krill warriors pressed from the sides. Mara's voice echoed, panicked and furious. "Kai, stop! You're jeopardizing everything!" "Not this time!" Kai shouted, letting instinct and courage drive him. The child's harmonics surged, and the shadow's limbs rose in unison with the pool's energy. It moved with deadly precision, striking Mara's soldiers like living weapons. Energy beams were deflected, bodies thrown aside, the human reinforcements utterly unprepared for the collective force of alien instinct guided by human and child coordination. Kai felt the pulse of the hive through the crystalline floor beneath his boots. Every vibration, every harmonic wave seemed to amplify the child's will. He realized humanity had found an unexpected ally in the alien society, one forged not through conquest, but through courage and empathy. He dove into the fray, weapon raised, dodging energy arcs and coordinating with the warriors. Each movement was instinctive. The toy robot, perched near the pools, whirred and clicked, amplifying the harmonic resonance. Even the most aggressive Kuril warriors, once distrustful, now fought in perfect tandem, their motions guided by the child's subtle pulses. Mara's device sparked, failing again and again, unable to overcome the collective focus of Hive and human. Frustration contorted her face as she tried to regain control, but it was too late. Kai's alliance was stronger, smarter, fueled by trust, courage, and ingenuity. The massive shadow lunged one last time, targeting Mara's remaining forces. Kai and the child positioned themselves strategically. The pool's harmonic pulse reached a crescendo, striking the shadow with a force that resonated through its massive frame. It stopped, eyes glowing, and then bowed its head in acknowledgement, not submission, but allegiance. Kai's voice rang out over the chamber. "It's over! Stand down!" The Kuril warriors froze, then slowly returned to defensive positions. Mara's forces, broken and disoriented, could do nothing against the combined force of Hive and human ingenuity. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of the pools and the soft harmonic trill of the child. Kai exhaled, dropping to one knee, still clutching the alien child. Around them, shards of crystal glowed softly like embers after a storm. The massive shadow loomed over them, calm now, a guardian rather than a threat. The Kuril elder approached, clicking and humming in approval, touching Kai lightly on the chest, an acknowledgement of trust, respect, and alliance. The alien child looked up at Kai, its eyes reflecting pure wonder. Kai felt the impossible. One small act of kindness, a single gift from Earth, had set off a chain of events that bridged worlds, united societies, and turned an almost certain defeat into triumph. Kai finally allowed himself a grin, wiping sweat from his brow. "Looks like we just saved a civilization, and maybe a galaxy or two." Somewhere deep in the hive, the pools shimmered, alive and vibrant, reflecting the newfound harmony between human and alien, warrior and child, fragile hope and unyielding courage. Humanity had not only survived, they had proven themselves extraordinary. But Kai knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. Across the stars there were countless other worlds, countless other civilizations, and wherever there was fear, distrust, or danger, humanity would find a way to rise, to connect, and to triumph. For now, though, he let himself savor this victory, the glow of alien crystals and the soft hum of a child's trust grounding him.